Now, most of you have probably read about this story, and I'll recap it in a moment if you haven't. First of all, this was an absolutely horrific tragedy. Nobody's gloating about this. Nobody's celebrating this. This was absolutely horrific, what happened to this poor couple. But never, ever will you find a more shocking, more alarming example of the consequences of moral relativism and pathological altruism. So basically what happened, they both quit their jobs to go cycling around the world. Their background was, obviously, they were very liberal, very left-leaning. The guy was a vegan. She later became a vegetarian. So they go off around the world in all these dangerous countries, cycling really harsh routes that could get them killed just through accident alone. They travel up through the whole of Africa into Europe. Their bodies are breaking down, but they continue on to Central Asia. And this is the philosophy that underpinned their journey. This is what they said. You read the papers and you're led to believe that the world is a big, scary place. People, the narrative goes, are not to be trusted. People are bad. People are evil. I don't buy it. Evil is a make-believe concept we've invented to deal with the complexities of fellow humans holding values and beliefs and perspectives different than our own. By and large, humans are kind, self-interested sometimes, myopic sometimes, but kind, generous and wonderful and kind. No greater revelation has come from our journey than this. That's what J. Austen wrote shortly before him and his girlfriend were killed by ISIS terrorists. They were riding along this road with a few other cyclists. A car containing 4 ISIS militants just barreled into them and killed them. Obviously, I'm not going to play the clip, but you can read about it in this New York Post article. So just days after, he makes this moral relativist argument that evil doesn't exist, that people aren't really evil, that everyone's kind, and that our view of evil is just us misunderstanding different cultures. A few days after that, he's literally killed by ISIS terrorists. Now again, this is horrific, this is tragic, but it underscores the serious consequences that leftist utopianism has on society. We see this happening in Europe with the migrant wave and with the justifications the left has come up with to rationalise it. But no, the world doesn't work like that. Evil does exist, people are evil, and this is why you need to have discernment and judgment and not be a moral relativist. Moral relativism is extremely dangerous and in some cases deadly. But really what's even more interesting about this, and this has not really been covered in the media to any great extent, the New York Times mentioned it briefly, but I went through their blog. Okay, they've got a cycling blog with about 39 entries of all these different countries they've been to. And again, after this morally relativistic rant about evil doesn't exist, it's just a perspective, all cultures are equal. Even after all that, you read through some of these blog posts, and I've just read a few, there's like 39. And in every single one, this couple get treated like shit in every country they go to. They write about numerous examples where people act with malice, and sometimes with evil towards them. So their ultimate fate in being killed by ISIS terrorists was not the only example. So it starts off with small stuff like this. They're trying to find somewhere to stay. This guy on the street in Morocco is following them around. He's harassing them. He follows them for 50 meters. They don't want to pay him a commission for finding them somewhere to stay. So then he insists that they start buying marijuana from him. They refuse. They tell him to go away. Again, it's an example of people acting with malice. Now, that's not a great deal of malice, but that's the first example. Then they get harassed by someone because they don't want to buy whatever it is they're selling from them and get called racist because of that. It says, Lauren and I are walking in the Medina. A man stops us with his hand outstretched. I do not shake it. Just say hello and keep walking. He shouts after us. What? Do you not trust me? Is it because I'm Moroccan? What have I done to offend you? Why do you not shake my hand? Is it because my skin is not like yours? He responds, I turn around and scowl. No, I say it's because you're going to try to sell me something. He points an angry finger in my direction. You Americans, I do not want to shake your hand then anyway. You have a mean face, a very mean face. So again, they're being harassed by people. People are being rude to them. This is just in Morocco alone. And then later on in the same blog, again in Morocco, he talks about how someone literally tried to run him over. Somehow Lauren and I have ended up on the wrong side of the traffic jam, blah, blah, blah. So they try to cross the road. He says, I look at the driver in the southbound lane, signal that I'm just cutting through to turn left as well. And his girlfriend does that as well. They're on their bikes, obviously, crossing a road. He says, I'm almost clear of the lane when he begins to run me over. Slowly, very slowly, his front bumper makes contact with my pannier. He inches forward, trapping my bike between his SUV and the bumper of the car in front of him. I pushed him sideways. I begin hitting the hood of his truck to get his attention. Hello, you're running me over. So this guy literally just squashes him in between another car, tries to run him over. Again, another example, all in one blog, of people, in this case in Morocco, they were killed in Tajikistan, acting with malice, acting with evil forethought. And then in another blog post about, I think they're in Kyrgyzstan, talks about riding past people who want to take a photograph of them, presumably because they're white. They don't see many white people in these remote areas of Central Asia, up on these plains, in this mountainous region. So they're riding past them. They demand a photograph. They say no because it's raining. They want to get on with their journey. Then another car passes. It stops ahead of them. The man gets out and demands a photograph, a selfie with them. They say no because they want to get on with their journey. It says, he reaches for the back of my bicycle. I bark him a firm "niet" in his direction. We ride on. So literally you got people like shoving on their bicycles just because this couple refused to take a selfie with them. Then it says that it happened again. The gold sedan skirts by us once more. It parks up ahead. This time 2 men exit the vehicle. They stand in the middle of the road, blocking our path. The first man says, Polusha, whatever that is, and I can't tell if it's an earnest plea or a cruel sneer. "Niet," we shout. "Leave us alone." Lauren's in front. She threads her way in between the 2 men. She keeps going. I make to follow. I gnash on my pedals, lean to the left, and get in between them. And then the man on the right pushes me off my bike. So they're literally travelling through these countries, getting run over, getting squished up against other cars, getting harassed, getting shouted at, and in this case, literally getting physically assaulted and pushed off their bikes. And this is all in their own blog. I've only read like 3 blog posts. There's like 40 of them, 39 or whatever. So they're littered with stories about people acting with malice and with evil towards them. As I always say, some cultures are better than others. Obviously, you get idiots, you get bad people in every country, but I'm just guessing that in the European countries, they probably don't get as much hassle as this, because again, while there are obviously many kind people, and I'm sure they were helped, and they talk about how they were helped by many kind people in these African and Central Asian countries, there are a lot of shits as well, a lot of bad people, and in some cases, a lot of evil people. So again, their entire blog is full of people treating them like shit, completely confounding this philosophical argument which illustrated their entire trip, which is the argument, as I've read out, that they posted on their blog, that evil is a make-believe concept and doesn't exist. Yes, I'm afraid it does exist. Moral relativism is dangerous. Moral relativism is deadly. And although it's obviously extremely tragic and heartbreaking that they were killed, that moral relativist attitude, that pathological altruism, that belief that evil doesn't exist and it's just us, Westerners, misunderstanding people's cultures, it ultimately contributed to their tragic deaths. Here's the very last photo they posted on Instagram, the Akbaital Pass in the Pamir Mountains. And these are the guys who killed them. They literally made an ISIS tape afterwards saying they pledge allegiance to ISIS after barreling into a bunch of cyclists, including the couple, killing 4 of them. ISIS claimed responsibility, and these are the bastards that did it. So again, it's a pretty straightforward lesson. Evil exists. There are evil people in the world. The world is not a utopia and never can be. Pathological altruism and moral relativism are deadly, dangerous. Have discernment, have judgment, treat people as they treat you. but be wary and realize that yes, evil does exist. It's not a wispy, abstract concept that we've just created because we don't understand other cultures. No, some cultures are better than others. Some countries are better than others. You're safer in some countries than others. Evil exists. Please never try to deny it.